Kia ora, Charlotte here. So, what were you up to when you were 23? In one of the final videos of my 23 series, I want to introduce you to Joyce Wyllie from Kaihoka Lakes. I asked Joyce what she was up to at the tender age of 23.
My name is Joyce Wyllie and I live with my husband Jock at the Kaihoka Lakes on a sheep and beef farm to the west of Collingwood in Golden Bay. I was born in Gisborne and Mum and Dad were sheep and beef farmers on a 1,000-acre farm north of Gisborne. So I had a wonderful childhood up the Whakarea Valley with a brother, and we had a little tiny school there, and most kids was 10, and then when it dropped down to 5 kids they closed the school, closed Whakarea School. I went to Motu School, and then for my senior schooling I went to Gisborne Girls High School, boarding school, and after that I had a year off and I worked on the farm and worked in shearing gangs, and then I did go to university. So after a year away from school and education, it was the last place I felt I needed to go, but I told people that I was going to go, and I thought I would possibly, the standards are really high to get into vet school, so I thought I'd do a year, probably not get in, and I'd probably do something else. But I think God had other plans, and I did get in. So I qualified as a vet, and it was 1981. So when I was 23 was when I graduated from Massey, and I'm not a lot into pomp and ceremony, so I wasn't going to bother going back to Massey because I thought wasn't that interested in putting a hat on my head and a gown around me and all the rest of it. But I flattered with vet students at varsity, and one of my flatmates said, "Joyce, get a grip, it's actually not about you, it's about your parents, and it's about celebrating them." And so I listened to them. I bought a nice dress and I went back to university, and Mum and Dad came down, and it was a very proud moment for them. I put some shoes on and I walked across the stage and got my vet certificate, and I always remember thinking how right my flatmate was, that Mum and Dad had sacrificed a lot, they had put a lot into my life, and they were amazing parents, and this was one small way that they could celebrate. I applied for a job in Golden Bay, and I was the only one that applied. It was the locum job, short-term job, while Ian and Linda Scott went overseas on a holiday. I had been to Golden Bay before because my friend was a park ranger at Tautarunui, so I'd come to see her at Tautarunui one summer holidays. So I applied for the job, came down on student standby on the plane, came across on, Kelly was the bus driver, came to Golden Bay, and Dick Wenzel was the vet. I was 23 when I first came to Golden Bay as a locum, and there was 3 of us at the clinic. There was Dick was head vet, I was the other vet, and Maurice Grossi, who's now Maurice Riley, was the vet nurse. So now the Rural Service Centre is quite a bit larger than it was in 1981. So when I put my overalls on, I was pretty fresh-faced. I didn't feel like a vet. I felt a bit of like other people believed I was a vet, which was a bit unnerving. But Dick was an amazing tutor and boss and mentor. He was single, and every night we would go through what I'd seen and what I'd done. I was really interested in large animals, and Dick was always amazing. He would say at the end of the day, he would never say, "You what? That was really dumb." He used to say, "Oh, well, if you see something like that again, maybe you could try this." And I'd go, "Oh my gosh, yeah, he's right." But it was a great start, and we realised after Dick died that he had been involved in training 17 of us new graduates. So he was wonderful. There was a really good young farmers group at the time. I was brought up in a Christian family, and so I held on to my Christian faith. So when I came to Golden Bay, I knew nobody, and I started going to church here, which was amazing because sort of it felt like I already had family. People took an interest in me. I had invited out for meals and things, so I felt quite settled in Golden Bay right from the beginning. When the locum finished, Ian and Linda came back from overseas, and I remember driving back over the hill, waving to all the trucks and things and thinking, oh, this is not going to be me again. So from Golden Bay I did locums in Stratford, Winton, Gisborne, Stratford again, Ruatoria, a couple of times from Ruatoria, overseas a few times, and if they needed an extra vet they'd call me back, see if I was interested in coming back to Golden Bay, which I did. Just looking back, I mean, when I came in when 23 in 1981, when I stepped off that bus and put on some overalls, you know, would never have thought how deeply rooted that I would be here. And I always think there's four F's I have in my life. Family, that this is my family here. In that first, when I was 23 in the Young Farmers Group, I met a young man called Wyllie, but I didn't know then that we would end up marrying 17 years later. So we got married in this very woolshed. Was when this is Len and Cheryl Wynn's woolshed that we're in now. We met here for a cup of tea before we went down to Collingwood Hall where we had our wedding in 1997, and we'd put an ad in the Golden Bay Weekly to say we were getting married and if anybody would like to come, please bring a plate, and they came, all 500 of them. Farming is my other F, and I was a rural vet. I did do small animals as well, and the only prize I won at university was this surgery prize, but I really disliked surgery. But so farming was part of me, and now I'm part of the farming community here, especially the sheep farming community. Friends is another F, and I made friends then who are still very good friends now from when I was 23 in 1991. Church friends, farming friends, and the other one is it's my faith, yeah, and I still value my faith. You know, who would have known back in 1981 that this was going to be home and that I would have the privilege of being part of this community, being part of church here, being part of joining in the privilege of families with being a celebrant, weddings and funerals, and yeah, that's been a huge part of my life is this community. And yeah, it all started when I was 23. And all the best, Charlotte, because I think this is a really good project, and I've enjoyed watching other people, and maybe people are interested in what we had to say. So here we go.
I hope you found that as moving as I did. So why 23? Well, in about 3 days, on the 23rd of September, I'm starting a 1-year program to help Golden Bay residents write their memoirs, or their life stories, or their histories. If this interests you, check out the information below and email me with any questions.